Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the North East Non-League Show, sponsored by DJ Private Hire, Gateway Accountancy Services Limited, the Elite Goalkeeper Academy, Motivate, Danny Lay Plumbing and Heating, the Football Pink, and Sport and Journey North East Limited. Tonight is episode 109, which is our steps 1 to 4, which is looking ahead to the teams in those divisions. Tonight we have joining us Jason, the Consett fan, and Matty, the Darla fan. Lads, thank you very much for coming on the show tonight.
You're right, mate. You're right, Matthew.
Yeah.
Like I say, we couldn't wait. We've been chatting away in the back there, waiting to come on. So lots to talk about tonight. But we're going to start in the National League with Gateshead and Hartlepool. And since the last show, which has probably been a couple of months now with the winter break and everything, Gateshead have been a tough start. January lost the first 3 games of January, 2 wins in 2025. But I think because of the good start, still find themselves in the playoffs. But a few are behind now, starting to close them down. Start with Gateshead, lads. What's your thoughts on? Do you think they can stay in them playoffs now?
Yeah, I think losing Rob Elliott's obviously the big one, going to Ware Crawley earlier in the season. And I watched Gateshead a few weeks ago in the FA Trophy against Boston, and it was kind of a bit like death by sideways and backwards pass. Yeah, they seem to have a really rigid system up there, and kind of the structure they have in place, it always kind of feels inevitable who's going to be the next manager after one moves on. Which I always think it's a little bit of a punt, taking a chance on these managers from higher up the pyramid, because I feel like if in such an ingrained system up there, they're not particularly tried and tested. It's quite easy to carry on momentum from where the last person left it. And I think Carl Magnier's got an element of that under his belt, and I feel like knowing the group of players and knowing the squad and the way they play and having that understanding already, that's going to serve him well there. But that will only take you so far. You need your own connections and you need your own way of adapting in games. And yeah, certainly that Boston game, it was seemed to be a lack of ideas, and I'd be really alarmed if I was a Gateshead fan after something like that. There was not a lot of attacking threat there, and probably the only time in the 90 they did put the ball in the box, he scores from it. Yeah, they really struggled to bring the wing backs into play, particularly Hannon. He had a really, really quiet game, and when you get him on the ball and you get him running at defences, that's a job for any team in the league, in the National League. So yeah, I feel like a little bit of adaptations maybe needed there. I think they've maybe become a little bit stuck in the style, stuck in the ways, and that's not always a bad thing to have that identity about you. But I think what Gateshead fans will tell you, the big difference between Rob Elliott and Mike Williamson was that Rob Elliott was a better manager because he knew when to change it, and he knew when to change the style a bit, and he knew when to go along, and he knew when to be more direct, and he knew when to be a little bit more reserved. Whereas Mike Williamson was, we're going to play this style of football minute 1 to minute 90, no matter what the scoreline is. And that's a really frustrating thing to watch as a fan. And Carlisle fans have probably found that out over the course of the last few months. So, yeah, I don't think big changes are needed up there to maintain a playoff place, but you want to be hitting form, maybe at least in the next few weeks, to be able to carry into the playoffs if you actually want to stand a good chance of going up. And whoever doesn't win the league out of Barnet, Forest Green and York are obviously going to be the 2 favourites to be winning those playoffs, and they are streets ahead of anybody else in the league. If you look at the rest of those 4 in the playoffs, they're miles away from that top 3. So yeah, I would imagine a 4th or 5th place finish for Gateshead this season. I can't see them straying too far away from that, but if they actually want to kick on, I think a little bit of adaptation and a little bit of change is needed up there.
Yeah, 100% agree. That one, Jason?
I think it'll be, like you say, it'll be 4th or 5th. The top 3 is the main teams there. I know Gateshead have just let a few lads go. We've getting Harry Moss from them, who had a fantastic debut for Gateshead. So I'm surprised he came back to Consett. But obviously the goalkeeper situation must have improved there. But they're just getting 3 new lads in. It was the lad from Crawley and Sellers Fleming. I mean, that lad from Crawley got 2 on his debut. So I don't know, they've brought a defender in, midfielder in, and a striker. So, you know, they've improved them places to push on. But I cannot see them breaking at the top 3, but definitely be in the playoffs. And then every game's a cup final in that, isn't it?
Well, that's it, isn't it? And I think, just as North East football fans, what Gateshead's been through, last season, as Gateshead, like watching that all season and say, oh, you're not going to be in the playoffs, that must have been a killer for any fans to go through. And I think as North East fans, we just want to go up and finally see them in the Football League, I think, don't we?
Yeah. Especially after last season as well.
I got to say, this Seagate last season, Yeah, a Darlow fan can definitely relate to that after our incident in 2016.
Yeah.
It's really frustrating having all that hard work going on to the pitch and the end result being taken out of your hands. So, and again, Gateshead as a club, not really got anything against them from my time with Darlow. So, yeah, I'd quite like to see them go up.
Yeah,
it would be really good. Another team, not too far behind there, but Hartlepool sitting 10th at the moment, but lost 2-1 the other night against Altrincham. I think we've seen a few fans now on Facebook, and I think we've seen a picture today with Raja. I know it's just that situation all the time. Doesn't matter if they win 3 games in a row, then go and lose 1. It's always going to turn back. It's just not a nice situation to be in at the time. But I know there was one fan that put on the other night to say it was just went to a bang average game, watching a bang average squad, and he said that's pretty much season over now. There's no chance of going again in the playoffs. I know they are 7 points off the playoffs, but I mean, do you think there's still enough time? And do you think there's enough quality in that squad, and in a way, enough heart to get them over the line to get them in the playoffs?
I think we'll just be a mid-table team. It's one of them where they'll win, lose, and draw. Different, I kind of see them going on a winning streak. I mean, the managers come in. Look, Lenny Lawrence has done a decent job to get the mid-table, and then this lad's come in as manager. But to me, they're not ready for promotion and that yet. And
yeah,
I mean, is the club still up for sale? I mean, there's still a lot of uncertainty as well, isn't there?
That's crazy, isn't it?
I mean, that can't be helping on the pitch.
I think in terms of the quality in Hartlepool's squad, I don't see any reason why they couldn't go and get players with the right management behind them. But I think they've lacked that structure from above all season and definitely for a few years now. But if you look at individuals in that squad, at the back you've got Luke Waterfall there, who's been there and done it in the National League as an experienced head. Up front, Manny, you're not going to ask for many better goal scorers in the National League than him, and they've got Charman playing well now, and yeah, I think they've got the individuals in that squad to go and kick on, really, especially if you can get Mancini fit and firing.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of talent in that squad, and I can't imagine it was particularly cheap to put together, but the common theme all season has been the brand of football they're playing, and they set the tone really when they appointed Darren South for that, I suppose. I mean, a lad I know who's a Hartlepool fan says Adam Campbell has been one of the worst players he's ever seen pull on a Hartlepool shirt the last few years, and I said, well, all his success in the lower leagues that's got him back up to Crawley, got him back in the limelight, has been playing in that number 9, and what better striker to do it with than Manny if you can get the ball in the feet and get him playing off Manny either in the number 9 or playing off him in a 4-4-2, then there's no reason why you can't get a player with that kind of quality firing. I know he's had a little bit bother with injury, but yeah, I feel like that's probably summed up Hartlepool's season to a certain extent. And yeah, I think the lack of ambition from the top has left a lot of fans there feeling quite apathetic to the fortunes, and it's not dissimilar to a lot of Darlow fans feel at the minute. It doesn't feel like a lot of hope of kicking on, and that'll be certainly how a lot of Hartlepool fans are feeling at the minute. And they can go on a run of winning 3 games and losing 3 games, but I think most of the fans that turn up week in, week out will know that doesn't really matter. They're going to finish somewhere between 8th and 13th every single season until they're actually budgets. And if they're serious about getting him out, then I'd start now, because the longer you stay down there, the harder it is a league to get out of. And at the moment, I can only ever see them going down before they come back up. So I think the problems that lie there are much higher up. And if I were them, I'd be trying to act soon on that.
Yeah, I mean, that game we went to in November, you just feel the frustration around the fans. And it's same as watching the style of play. I know they went down to 10 men quite early and they did battle well, but 0-0, I think they must have had about, off the top of my head, about 5 or 6 0-0s at home. And at home games, you want that excitement, some attacking football. And I think there was maybe one shot on target that game that we went to, and it was just not boring, but obviously because there were 10 men, they had to give a little bit more. But there was no style of play. They were just trying anything just to try and break down the 11 men. They just couldn't. There was just no idea in the squad. But hopefully, like you say, with Gateshead and Hartlepool, obviously Gateshead in them playoffs, can Hartlepool do it? We'll have to find out. But fingers crossed, one of them will stay in that playoffs, which I think will be Gateshead, and hopefully we'll push on up the league as well. But getting on to the National League North now, Darlow, South Shields and Spennymoor. We've got to start with Darlow yourself, Matty. Since you last been on, how's it all been going?
Yeah, it's not been too bad. Mixed bag of results really recently.
Yeah.
Saturday we went to Southport and drew 0-0. That's the 6th time I've been to Southport away and not seen the score a goal. But yeah, it's, again, it's not much has changed really. It's kind of looking like it's going to be a pretty average mid-table finish for us. Buxton at home, we got beat 1-0, early penalty, and we couldn't find a way through to break the deadlock. And yeah, that felt a little bit of a killer for us. That was only our second home defeat of the season, and they were another team that were in and around us, and we had a real opportunity to make some ground up. But like I say, I mean, we're still really defensively solid. We're still struggling to find the back of the net. Cedric Mains not doing it. So yeah, for all the chopping and changing we try and do to get a tune out of him, it's not working to the full extent that we'd like. And we've had a few loans come in. Jack Lambert has been with us for 2 months. I feel like the fan base have been pretty kind on him over the 2 months he was here, and that's probably from previous credit in the bank. But to me, he's looked drastically overweight, lacking any sort of creativity going forward and any sort of service for the strikers. And Caden Kelly's another player that we've got on loan from Sunderland at the minute, plays on the wing. Apparently he's been on trial with Stockport over the last few weeks, and whatever they've seen in him, I haven't, because he's a strange player to watch. I've never quite seen a winger be so afraid to take on his man and put a ball in the box. It seems to be a lot of sideways and backwards football, which I know is kind of coached from a young age these days to play a certain way. And you'll probably start to see more academy players going that way that you're bringing on loan at this level. But yeah, it's that lack of creativity and those lack of goals coming from midfield that's really got us struggling to go up that extra gear and kick on into that 7th place. But there's still a lot of football to be played. We're at home at Kings Lynn on Saturday. It will be another tough test there and sat in the playoff spot at the minute. And if we were to win that would be ground gains on quite an important opponent. And then Scunthorpe away on Tuesday night, and we all know the size of the task at hand there. So yeah, the games don't get easier in the next month or so, but we've got a nice little run towards the end of the season, so it's about grinding out results over the next month, I'd say. And if you're still in that mix going into the last month, then you give yourself a right chance, and you'll be hitting form at the right time to do it as well. So still plenty of optimism, and yeah, I think maybe 1 or 2 additions are needed to get us over the line, which I don't see us having the finances to do. So again, I'm predicting a 9th or 10th place finish for us again this season.
Yeah, I think looking at it as well, Jason, I mean, you look at obviously Darlow sitting in there, Spennymoor 12, South Shields 15. It's quite frustrating because, like you say, you normally always see one of those kind of in the playoffs already. You just want to see one of them push on now and just see them up there, don't you?
Yeah, I think like with Darlow, like you say, I mean, you've promoted quite a few under 23s into the squad, haven't you?
Yeah.
So like you say, you haven't got that experience that you maybe need to push on.
Yeah, we promoted them also earlier in the season when we were having a bit of an injury crisis. A few of them on more teams that I'm sure we'll mention later. But yeah, it's quite a young squad at the minute. We've brought in another young lad up front from Borough, Hazim Baka, who's looks an interesting player at first glance. He's only played 2 games so far, but yeah, again, he looks very raw, very physical. You know, a lot of fans criticise Jack Maskell, and they seem to like the look of Baka, but I watched the 2 of them and I don't see a great deal of difference, if I'm being honest. I think they're both raw and they're both very coachable, but they're not the answer right now. And you're limited in your options on what you can bring in terms of loan options at this time of year anyway. And yeah, I don't think those sorts of players are the answer for us. That being said, we've got a little bit of youth kind of all over the park. Will Flint's been on loan from Doncaster this season. He's only 18-year-old still, and the maturity to his game, he's going to have a great career in the EFL somewhere. He's been fantastic for us this season. And keeping that midfield 3 together, Flint, Platt and Hatfield this season, has been key to keeping us in the pack. They've formed a really solid kind of collective partnership there to kind of go and kick on now. And
so what's happened to Matty Cornish this season?
Matty Cornish has been on and off again this season. I think his actual best run of form has probably come in the spell of games where he's not been playing as much and he's come off the bench a lot more.
Right.
Yeah, I think I was expecting a quieter season from Cornish this season. I was expecting him to be a little bit more of a bit part player, but he seems to have maintained a little bit of that form that he kept last season, which is really nice to see because I wasn't convinced by him at all that he'd do that given his track record. But yeah, he's whatever sort of mood he's in, whatever sort of form he's in, Cornish is still always going to be that type of player that wants to get on the ball and wants to run it defensive and wants to be positive with his play. So I'll never criticise a player, or definitely a winger who has that intention when they play. And yeah, at the minute I'd say he goes into our best 11, but those wing options are looking a bit scarce at the minute. I definitely think we need to add a bit of creativity to that.
Yeah. I think, like we said, touching on with Spenny and Shields as well. I mean, Spenny sitting in 12th, won the last 3 games, but as Martin knows in that league, you win 3 games, the next time you go to lose 3 games, and it's trying to get the momentum going, especially now going to them playoffs as well. And I mean, South Shields sitting in 15th, and I was just chatting to my mate there before we came on the show. 1 win in the last 6, really poor form. There's a few questions now from the fans, questioning Dickman as well. I know they've had Stevenson back on loan, but just things don't seem to be ticking there as well. We've obviously seen Darlow pushing on Rich. I think we're 7 points not far behind the playoffs. I think they might push into it, but sitting with Spenny and South Shields, do you think them two could even push on, or do you think they kind of have those seasons where they've just got to kind of take it on the chin and just go again next season?
I think with Spennymoor, they're always there or thereabouts, aren't they? They either just miss out by a point or goal difference or something like that. I mean, I don't know. They've had a couple of games postponed with the waterlogged pitch, so they've got a couple of games in hand.
Yeah,
I know points is better than games in hand, though. And I think a special mention to Glenn Taylor for reaching 200 goals, which is some achievement. I was going to go down the other night, but couldn't make it at the end. But no, I think I don't know. They'll be there or thereabouts. If they miss out, they'll be by a point or two, like they have over the last couple of seasons. But again, it would be good to see them in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think with Spennymoor this season, they've seemed to put a little bit of a run together over the last month or so. Again, Taylor seems to have found his form again after a long spell out with injury, and that's obviously key to the way they play. Yeah, again, I think if they do miss out on the playoffs, it'll only be by a point or 2 or something like that. Yeah, I think they're hitting form at a good time, but they've probably not done enough in the first half of the season to gain that ground, because that 7th place now, it's hard to see past that top 10 at the minute. You'd even say the likes of now a little bit too far away. It's become a little bit more open with that top 6, because that top 6 were really running away in one massive title race for the first half of the season. That's become a little bit more open. Buxton and Charlie have started to break that down a little bit, and Hereford are on a good run of form as well. So they're looking right in the mix, and we're probably the lowest ranked team left that you'd say still in that mix to go and get that 7th place. So I'd maybe say Spenny have left their run a little bit late, but it's a story they seem to have every season. They're always there and thereabouts, and I'm not sure if they're ever going to get that little bit of something extra to really kick on now, because I think Brad Groves is in a position where he can't keep ploughing money into them at the rate he has been getting them up the leagues. And I'm not saying he's going to mothball them, but I think at some point he's got to put the brakes on a little bit with what he spends there, and I think we've seen that over the last few seasons or so. But like they say, they've still got that core group of players there that have been doing it for years for them, and they've still got that structure at the club, and that goes a long way at this level, and that's proven for them over the last few years. So it wouldn't surprise me if they did sneak in that 7th place, but to be honest, I think they probably left it a little bit late for that.
The thing is as well, they'll have the eye on the trophy, won't they? They've got a tough away game in Sutton, but they've had a good run in the trophy, which is maybe getting away from the league as well.
Yeah, I've got to say as well, if you get a little bit of momentum from a trophy, sometimes a fixture pile up isn't that much of a bad thing. Sometimes it's a good habit to have, and you just want the games to come thick and fast when you're in that sort of mood. So I think that will be more benefit than hindrance towards them, and they'll go into a game at Sutton with no fear, nothing to lose there, and it's certainly winnable. So yeah, I'm sure they'll have a good go at that.
Yeah, really interesting, that one as well. Not the Northern Premier now, both Spartans, Hebburn, Morpeth, Stockton and Whitby. And I think it's safe to say Macclesfield have pretty much won the league a couple of months ago. I think you're looking forward to that game next season if they do stay in the league, or if they do come up.
Yeah, it'll be an away trip where you get all the usual suspects out for it. I'm sure we'll have a little bit of a bumper away. Yeah, nice ex-league ground to go to. Not such a nice team to have in your league, because I'm assuming they'll be wanting to go straight through this league too, and they'll certainly have the finances to be in the league below and have a front three of Justin Johnson, Elliot Whitehouse, and Danny Elliott up front with John Rooney in the 10. I mean, that's a National League front three. So yeah, it's no surprises there that they're trouncing the league as they are, and I'm sure they'll have one eye on doing it again next season when they're in our league.
Definitely. But three sides in that division doing well. Obviously, Stockton and Heaven just came up. But like I say, they're fighting up there. I know Heaven's just dropped away a little bit. And obviously, Morpeth Town as well doing really well this season. Nice to see after kind of just below mid-table the last couple of seasons. Nice to see them pushing on as well. And I think with, like you say, the likes of Stockton Heaven who've just come up there, and I think it's kind of hard for them to come up and then stay up there all season. I know Stockton's a bit higher than Heaven at the minute, but it'd be nice to see one of them at least get in the playoffs or a bit higher by the end of the season, won't it?
Yeah, I think out of the three, I think it'll be Stockton. I mean, we've touched on this before, where they've added a few bits of quality to the squad. They haven't lost anybody, but they've just added that one or two that they seem to do each season, and I've been well impressed with them. You've got like Michael Sweet, 15 goals, Thompson and Josh Scott hitting, stepping up the levels and doing well. So yeah, I think they'll be the ones that's in the playoff place, and maybe Heaven's just fallen away a bit now. And Morpeth must be happy with where they're at. I don't know whether they'll be able to push on into the playoffs, but top half, I would have backed them for top half beginning of the season.
Yeah, doing all well, aren't they?
Yeah. I think what I've seen of Stockton this season, I've barely seen them concede a goal this season. And that partnership at the back with Nicholson and Coulthard, that's been formidable for a number of years now. And I think you saw it a lot at Darlow when we were coming up for the leagues. If you get that bit of momentum behind you and you form those partnerships, you just kind of step up with the levels. And I think that's definitely what Stockton have done as they've come up through the leagues. They're lacking a little bit of creativity going forward. I'd definitely say that. I think there's probably a little bit of an age in front line there. Sweet's not getting any younger. Tom Hall's in the final years of his career. Kev Hayes, again, is another one who's not getting any younger. Josh Scott, though, was a really wise investment. I think his movement.
That's for the future, isn't it?
Yeah, he's one they'll definitely look to for the future, and I think he could go even higher still. He looks a really intelligent footballer. That's what I get a lot of when I see him. And he's got that kind of ability to do it all. He can hold up the play and he can make those runs in behind as well. So he's going to be a really useful player for them going forward. And this week it was a big win for them at Ilkeston, because they're the other team that's hitting on the outsides of the playoffs at the minute. So if they'd lost that, you'd have maybe said it's a little bit of a mountain to climb for them, but they've given themselves a right good chance by winning that game. And yeah, if they do sneak in that fifth place, then I'm sure they'll give the playoffs a right good go. Like you say, every game's a cup final from there, and being really defensively solid and making a good habit of not conceding goals is possibly the best way to go about that when you go into a knockout game. Yeah, but yeah, I'm sure they'll give it a good go. Heaven are probably going to fall a little bit short. They're probably going to finish top half still, though, which they'll have definitely taken that before the season started. Amar Purwall, 35 now, is he still scoring goals at that level? Yeah, I'd have liked to have maybe seen him stay at Darlow a little bit longer than he did, to be honest. He did a bad ACL when we just started in the National League North. He must have had it, and he never really recovered from it. He maybe played out for the games after that, but yeah, he never properly came back. And he's got that intelligence and he holds the ball up really well. And yeah, he's another player that brings kind of everybody else into play. And yeah, it's nice to see him still doing it at that level.
Like you say with him and Michael Sweet, when you're a goal scorer, you know where the goals are. Doesn't matter how old you are, or if your legs go. If you can score a goal, I would have either one of them back at concert.
And a couple of teams, obviously, in that league not doing as well. We're going to start at Whitby Town. Obviously, Little retired during the week now, now manager, 16th. But when you look at the table, obviously 6 points off 10th, but then you turn the other way and the 6 points of being 20th. And obviously, the last couple of games they have won 2-1, and then they drew 1-1 with Heaven as well. But I think it's worrying times for Whitby. Obviously, getting to Blythe in the moment, but I think it's that lack of investment, that time, like obviously in that area, getting the players in, getting the players to stay there as well. It just seems to be slipping and slipping, and like it's a couple of more defeats, and it could be in that relegation battle come the last couple of months of the season, couldn't it?
Yeah, I think it's going to be hard for them. Like you say, like we've hit on this before, and I mean Peter's told us many a time about like recruitment, isn't it, for travelling.
Yeah.
So I was a bit surprised when Michael Woods left Scarborough for travelling reasons, and then they were with me. But there might probably something else behind that. But no, I don't know. I think if they finish just above relegation, I think that'll be good for them this season. It's been a struggle for them.
Yeah, I think with Whitby, that's probably more the level they've become accustomed to playing at for the amount of time they've been in that league. They've had a good run over the last few years, but the resources and the players they can attract there, this is probably more realistically what we're looking at for the short term future, at least, unless a bit more investment will come in there. But again, on paper, that squad isn't bad, and it definitely isn't a squad that should be going down, and I can't imagine it will come down. And I think there'll definitely be 4 worse teams than them. But I think that kind of those lower reaches and mid-table is probably where it would be destined to be for the next few years, and it must be frustrating as a fan, and you must kind of think, what's the point sometimes if you're never going to kick on? But I think for now, just kind of getting a little bit of stability back after Haslam's gone, and just kind of getting that core group of players playing again, I think that'll go a long way for them.
Yeah, I know we've been talking about Blythe obviously before the show as well, which we'll get on to now. Anyone that's watching as well, any comments about Blythe? No, we're just going to be having a good chat about them now. And obviously, it looks like the relegation is pretty much nailed on now. But obviously, the main news today, I think the fundraising page has now been put up to crowdfunding. And we've just been talking before the show there is obviously the fans or local people came in to save the club. Have they realised it's just a little bit too much for them? And obviously, the fans, everyone trying to now get behind and save the club and keep the fair. But it's a bad time. It's sad to see, obviously, the size of Blythe Spartans, the fans and that they've got there. It's sad to see a team struggle as much, and obviously look could be like double relegation over the last couple of seasons, isn't it?
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me at all if Blythe even went down next season, to be honest. The resources there, it's probably a little bit of an element of some businessmen have come in who love the club and probably didn't quite realise the size of the task at hand when they came in, or possibly they did realise it, but what was it? It was a choice of either that or letting the club die. So they've come in and saved the club, and they've not got the money in the pockets to go and make bones out of this season at least. It's a really young squad there. They've been chopping and changing in players all season. They've got a fairly experienced manager, but not experienced at that level, and hasn't done a number of other clubs. So that's another hard thing to contend with for them. But the way they've fallen off a cliff in the last year and a bit has just been quite incredible watching. It's a real shame because they're a really historic club, and they've always been kind of at that level and sometimes punching above the weight in the National League North. And I think there's a little bit of an element of be careful what you wish for, because there was a lot of fans that were really on Tony Platin's case when he was keeping them afloat in the National League North. And to be fair to them, I don't think it was mainly a case of the investment. I think it was probably the size of the cutback after Armstrong left and the football decisions that were being made there. But having had Platten keep that club for so long, keep it at that level, and be really, really careful in terms of the way he runs it, it's quite bizarre to see the way he just kind of handed it over to what was very blatantly a man who didn't have the capability or the knowledge to run a football club. So it was a really bizarre little handoff, and it was probably a big red flashing sign that Platten wanted out and he needed out now. So I think this has probably been on the cards for a few years for Blythe, and hopefully they get a bit of money through the fundraiser to see them out to the rest of the season, and maybe in the summer they can have a proper reset and go again and just kind of bring a little bit of stability back to the club before they start trying to grind out results on the pitch.
Yeah, definitely. Sad times though, Jason, isn't it? Like you say, massive club, massive name, isn't it?
Well, there's a massive club, like you say, a massive name in the northeast. But this has been coming for years. I mean, even just before COVID, COVID saved them for a couple of seasons, and it's just been downhill since then. like you say, planning sold out or give the club to that other guy who did not have a clue, and that's where they got started. And the amount of players that's come and gone, that cannot be good. I just feel for the fans, genuine fans following the club, because we were at Bradford Park Avenue last year, who has had two successive relegations, and it's not good. They're not going to come into our league and bounce straight back up. Like Matthew says, they might end up going down again to rebuild. But it just, like, especially after today's news about this crowdfunding thing, it just makes you wonder, like, what the finances are behind the club, and it's frightening for them. Like,
that's where, like you say, hopefully they do get through and see the season out, and hopefully come back again stronger next season. But on the pitch in East now, going through the sides in that division. I'm going to start with yourself, Jason. Obviously, concert, how's it been going over the last couple of months?
Well, I don't know about January because I was away. I was keeping an eye on them, like. No, it haven't been too bad. We had a few draws. Got a good result last week at Bradford Park Avenue away. Got beat off Clearthorpes Tuesday night, which, I mean, obviously Clearthorpes is up there going away. Like I say, we're getting Harry Moss from Gateshead now permanent in goal. We're getting another couple of lads in. Will Constantine comes back from Blythe, the defender we had beginning of the season. And we're getting another lad up front, Eddie Thomas, so we'll just see what he comes back with. But again, we've got Belper on Saturday, which is a massive game at home. And then after that, we've got 5 games. Like, Grimsby Borough is just above us, but we've got four of them teams that's down in the bottom. So 5 massive games for us, like, and we need to be taking points off them.
Huge games, isn't it? I mean, you look at the league itself, and obviously look at our teams. You've got Dunstan 5th, as we wrote this, and Newton Aycliffe sitting 6th. I think them two is obviously our playoff contenders now, hopefully to push on and try and get at least one of them in there. Because it's kind of strange, isn't it? I mean, we look at the division, and we talk about so many times over the last, 3 or 4 years. I think the top from 1 down to 6 has always been North East teams, and it's strange not to see one of them kind of pushing on or even challenging for the title this year, isn't it?
The thing is, I mean, Dunstan was one of my favourites with Belper beginning of the season, but I mean, they've had a bad last few results. I think we've won once in the last 5, got beat up Heaton. So, I mean, they're dropping points, but it's good to see Newton Aycliffe up there. Yeah. I think a team that's in this league that's just doing it on the quiet.
Just take away,
but again, like we said, they're stuck with the same players. They've built on it and banging the goals in. So good luck. I can maybe see Aycliffe taking over Dunstan the way things is going.
Yeah, Aycliffe are a team I've watched quite a bit of this season, and they've got a really, really young side there, and it's kind of a core group of players that have been together for a number of years, and that's probably what's seen them through at the minute. Dan Atkinson's quite an interesting manager. He has quite a hands-off approach. He's very relaxed in the way he does it, and he just kind of lets the players have their freedom to kind of just go out and do their thing, which is sometimes what's best for a really young side, and you don't want them to be too overly organised, too well drilled. You want them to have that creative freedom, and you play some incredibly good football, and at times they are also the doing of their own downfall sometimes, but that will come with a little bit of experience, and that's probably why they're not quite poking in those spots at the minute. Games in hand at the minute aren't quite favourable to them, but if they keep playing the way they have, I'd love to see them sneaking those playoffs, and if they did go up, it would be a hell of an achievement for them, and it would be a hell of a task trying to stay in the league above, but that's a problem for I'd love to see them get them home this season.
A really good one. I mean, looking behind that, obviously Bishop, they've seemed to pick up, and obviously they were pushing on quite well, but they've lost a couple of games. I think at the moment you look at the Facebook page and stuff, and I think it's a play in and out every other few days. I think at the minute, and players leaving, players coming in, and I think you need that settled squad now if you want to push for anything. I think it's a little bit too late now for Bishop, but they came up, they've stayed up, and I think that's the main thing. Any teams that come to the Northern League just want to stay in there that first season, don't they?
But that's it. I mean, that's it. When Constant got up, the main thing was just staying there and just building on that. So, I mean, Bishop to finish mid-table, I mean, they are a good squad. I've been down a few times to see them, pre-season friendlies as well. They are a good team. They beat us down their place, and they're playing good quality football. But mid-table, I would think they would settle for that. They've got a few big games coming in March. I think they've got Belper home and away, and again Clearthorpes. So if they can nick a few points off them and just settle for where they are, I think they'll be happy, and then maybe push on next season for playoffs.
Yeah, Bishop are another team I've seen quite a bit of this season. It seems to be quite a bit of a rollercoaster season for them. They seem to go through little runs of putting together some really good results and looking like they might now kick on, and then it seems to be a little bit one step forward, two steps back for them. To be honest, having watched them a lot of last season, I would actually say they've underachieved this season. And I know there's been a lot of turbulence behind the scenes for them, but that group of players they had, and if you can keep it together, some of the football they were playing last season was unbelievable. Definitely as good as when Darla were in there. So, yeah, I thought they'd be right in amongst it this season for the playoffs in where they are. But, yeah, like I say, a little bit of a bad run, a little bit of turbulence behind the scenes has probably thrown that off a little bit, and they're probably just quite looking forward to seeing the back of this season and going again in the summer and bringing a little bit more stability back to the club. But yeah, I definitely think Bishop have the facilities, the means to go on.
Fantastic facilities down there.
Yeah, it's a great ground, Heritage Park. It's my favourite ground to go and watch football at. Probably a little bit biased. Yeah. I've watched Darlow there so many times, but yeah, it's a great place to watch football, and it's nice to see some higher level football coming there than the Northern League over the last few years. But yeah, I can see Bishop wanting to kick on next season, and I think the big question they'll be asking between now and the end of this season is Leon Carlin the right man to do it?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, isn't it? Sharks, thank you very much for watching. Love the knowledge. Great watch. Thank you very much for watching. Really appreciate it as well. And just behind that, Ashton, I know just on about the Bishop there. I know that obviously Catholic moved from Bishop to Ashton and had the win the other night. And it seemed to be a bit of a, I don't know what was going on Facebook. There seemed to be a bit of a spat between him and Bishop. I don't know what was going on there, but it was great to watch it from the back. But I think Ashton as well, obviously, they were in that bit of trouble, but it seemed to sort themselves out there. Look like they're safe to stay up now, like you say, with Constant as well. But I think a lot of respect and what Heaton Stan's done over the last few weeks or the last month or so, picking up a couple of massive wins and pushing on. Hopefully, that'll be all the North East sides staying in that division next season. It'd be great to see, wouldn't it?
Yeah, again, Heaton Stan just getting up there and staying there. I mean, I went to the final last year, and I mean, it was at their place, but I thought West Auckland would have beat them. But again, you know, if they stay in this league and build on from that, they've also got the Cup semi-final, Northumberland Cup semi-final. I kind of see them beating. Well, it depends what Newcastle put out. It'll be a bunch of young'uns, but they've got that to go for. Again, I mean, the other semi-finals, Ashton and the way to Morpeth, I think. So that's something else for Ashton to look at. But no, I mean, Heaton Stan's done well. Last 3 games they've won, I think, which is getting them out of the bottom 4. I mean, I know Brighouse beat Dunstan the other night, so they've creeped out of it. But we just need to beat them teams below us that we've got the fixtures coming up. Keep us safe, because we're bottom of the lot at the minute, and Heaton Stanton's on the good run.
Yeah, Stanton outside I know a lot of, but they've got a couple of players on Northern Darlow, a couple of R23s that we promoted to the first team this year. They've got Archie Small there and Alex Payne there. Alex Payne spent the first half of the season at Gisborne, and he was way too good for Northern League level. He didn't look at all out of place playing in our first team. So bringing a little bit more quality to that Heaton Stanton team and still maintaining that youth and that energy has probably been a big part in getting a little bit of momentum to get out the relegation zone, and it would be a massive achievement for them staying up this season, because really up against last season in the Northern League, they didn't really have much right to go and win that playoffs, and they didn't even really have much right to finish in them either. So if they can stay up in the first season in this league, who knows how much they can kick on in the summer. And it's not just big for that group of players, but it's also big for the club in terms of building for the next 5 years, for the next 10 years. And yeah, that will be massive for them. And yeah, hopefully the next few months will be favourable to them.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Like I say, Dino and Andy, they put so much work, and I know I spoke a little bit of behind the scenes, and they put so much work into the Heat as well. So hopefully they will still push on next season as well. But lads, thank you very much for it tonight. Like you say, it's been a great show. It's always a pleasure chatting to you. Like I say, I could chat all night about football. It's a mint, man. In the North East, you can't beat it, can you?
No, it's great crack.
Yeah, a lot to go at.
Well, fingers crossed, like you say, constantly push on, safe in the tail, and hopefully, you never know, Matt, you might hit them plus. I hope at least one of you is doing that division, because it's a shame to not see one North East side do it. So hopefully, fingers crossed, it'll be yourselves.
Hopefully, yeah. Keep my expectations low and be pleasantly surprised, hopefully.
But okay, everyone, thank you so much for watching. I hope you're back next week with another show as well, so keep watching out for the schedule as well. But I hope you all enjoy the rest of the night and enjoy your weekend as well. And thanks for watching.